Good evening, everybody. I'm going to bring the Board of Finance meeting for April 9th, 2025 to order. I'm Mike Anderson, the chair. I'm with Dan Smith, the vice chair, Carl Johnston, Gary Anino, Sarah Nelson, Amy Friend, who's an alternate, and our great secretary, Lou Gingerella, and Winona Burdine, also an alt. And Suzanne Thoreau, who's here for as the administrator and finance expert. And whoever brought the mini eggs, thank you very much. I have dark chocolate ones if people are hungry. We'll move on to number 2, public comment. Anyone that want to start with comments tonight in the audience? Yes, ma'am. You're going to come up right up to this microphone over here. And please just tell us who you are and where you live in town.
I'm Lynn Faulkner. I live at 3 Yabux Valley Road, and I'm here because I can't solve the world's problems, but I can solve some of the problems in North Stonington. I've started a campaign for collecting food for the month of May during the meetings and the referendum, and this is another way to get the word out. So I'm asking everybody out there, and you guys too, when you come to the budget meetings or the referendum in May, to please bring food for the North Stonington School Food Pantry. There's a big sign out front, bright colors so that everybody will see it, and people are already starting. It's been on Facebook a couple of times. So.
Is that in the front of the building
Yes,
here?
yes,
Okay, and is it like canned goods, non-perishable stuff or?
yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody online? Hands up. Okay. On to budget item number 3. Board of Education are going to present their new draft that was, I believe, approved yesterday, Monday?
Monday.
Monday.
Yes. Did you all get the email?
Yes.
Okay. There are no slides. I didn't make any today. I didn't send any to you. I'm not gonna ask anybody to put up any slides tonight, Gary. Do you see how, I don't know if you have it printed out, if you can see it, but the last page of the worksheet is the budget reduction considerations. And I think that's probably the place for us to start in talking about how we got to 4%. Does everybody have that? Yeah, so in the Excel sheet, it has the tab, the back tab. Oh, that's good. Oh, is that the whole packet? Did you hand them the whole packet? Or is it just, oh, that's great. So we could see the budget versus non-lapsing too? Yeah. Okay, great. The same, yeah. Okay. So if you look at that sheet, it's a similar sheet that you have been seeing, I think since March 26th. We've been doing this budget reduction consideration. So here's where we've ended. The salary adjustments, we had talked about those before on your sort of the last iteration. Those look the same. You will notice a difference. Instead of 1.7 FTE teachers, you're going to see 1.1. So we were able to pull 0.6 back into the budget. We also were able to pull back in the non-contractual position that you saw on the sheet last time. We've pulled that back in. One of the biggest changes you're going to see is the health insurance line. Kathy was able to realize those savings, I think by function of us just getting further and further into the year, looking at our retirement for next year, that sort of stuff. So you'll see a big reduction there of 123,000.
Now it's 1.1.
We are taking summer school out. That was out. It was back in. It was out. Now it really is out. BOAG and magnet tuition, that was able to be adjusted. There was a mandate passed by the state, and so we adjusted our tuition as well. We've taken $10,000 out of the professional service consultant line. That's the central office training that we talked about. Kathy and Troy decided that they could do probably $10,000 less. We also took $2,500. It's not very big, but we were able to take a little bit out of the telephone line. Negotiation to non-lapsing, you saw in our last presentation. And I can't remember if we talked about the sports transportation reduction last time or not, but that's there, 12,500. And then the general building services, you saw that we reduced again last time to $30,000. So a couple of the things that we had to add back in, a little bit more on our unemployment line, and some new equipment. So that brings us down to 4%. If you look at your third tab on that document, budget versus non-lapsing, you'll see that we, and I don't know how many of you have watched our meetings, but we had some significant conversation about the technology movement, where we're going, and how
Steph,
we'll
can you
fund
hold on
that.
1 second?
Sure.
Did you not get that email from Troy? Okay. Anytime further that, yeah, I'll, if you see Board of Education and you did not receive it, please reach out to one of us and I'll,
Suzanne, do you want me to send it to you right now?
do you mind? Because I
I
would
don't mind at
love
all.
it to be if it was shared. I'm sorry about that.
That's okay. It might be easier if everybody's looking at it up there too.
All right, quick pause. Have some candied eggs.
Oh, I will.
Thank you. Uh-oh. Okay. So we're go to the budget versus non-lapsing tab. Perfect. Yep.
Yes, that's what I want to talk about now.
Okay, thank you.
So we had moved a bunch of stuff to non-lapsing earlier on in this process. And then we started thinking about doing a more sustainable budget and how do we put stuff into the budget that really belongs there that we're going to have to fund year after year? How do we separate out those one-time expenses? So we came up with a bit of a new strategy. So if you look down towards the bottom, you'll see the non-lapsing account. You knew about the contract negotiations that we pulled out of our budget. So we left $10,000 in that line in our operating budget and pulled $40,000 into the non-lapsing because it's a teacher contracting year. And that line item won't be so high next year. Then when we were thinking about our technology plan, Troy had a group of people at the school working on it and they presented it to us. One of the problems is that much like I think town capital over the years, we've sort of ignored technology. It's the first thing that we take out of the budget. So we have some really old laptops. They did a chart for us. We've got teachers with laptops that are really, really old. And so we weren't sure at first, where do we put the laptops? And what we decided is we'll put in the operating budget what we should be purchasing every year. And we'll take the catch-up stuff and we'll put that in non-lapsing. So we're not inflating our technology budget, but we're holding that line about where it needs to be in order to fund this technology every year. So we don't run into like a big bump next year or a big bump this year and then a lull next year.
I
So
think that's great.
well, we are feeling positive about it. So we're purchasing 14 teacher laptops out of the operating budget, which we believe will likely be the rate at which we purchase them. And we now have a schedule, I think until 29/30. And then we're buying 32 out of non-lapsing. You know all about the cameras that we're purchasing. That's all coming out of non-lapsing. Then we talked about the Chromebooks. Right before COVID, we spent a lot of time deciding if we were going to go to a one-to-one Chromebook program for the high school. And after a lot of discussion, and I think a fair amount of that was around financing it. How are we going to continue to do that? So we finally made the decision. And then a few months later, COVID hit. And so we received money to put Chromebooks not only into the hands of our grades 9 through 12 kids, but we were giving them to middle schoolers. We were really handing them out because that's how we were doing school during that period of time. What happened is that it sort of morphed into the idea that we now have a grades 5 through 8 one-to-one program, but we never really talked about how do we do that in a sustainable way. And we still haven't. But we know based on what this technology team worked on, as well as, and Kim Haggerty is part of that team. Rob Salino, the elementary school principal, also on that team. And we'll talk all about the needs for those Chromebooks, even at that age level. But we still haven't had the conversation about how we're going to pay for it over the years. So what we decided to do is fund in our operating budget the one-to-one program that we agreed to years ago. And so that's for our grade 9 kids, as well as the replacement Chromebooks for the younger grades. And then we took the Chromebooks that would be given to the 5th graders, and we put those in non-lapsing to give us a little bit more time to figure out how we're going to make that work. We realized that we really have to look at technology and think about it for the long term, because we don't want to commit to technology that we don't think we'll be able to support. So we really want some time to figure that out. So that's how the Chromebooks were divided up. I think you guys have heard about switches. We have some infrastructure switches. So we were able to get, I don't know, Troy, was it a grant or a program, something that we're able to be a part of? So we're able to purchase these switches at a pretty significant discount. So we are purchasing the switches that need to be updated this year out of our operating budget. But then there are switches that we have to catch up with those too. So we're taking a bunch of those switches and we're purchasing them out of non-lapsing. So again, playing catch up there. Same situation with our smart boards. We're going to fund 5 out of our operating budget. And then as we work to catch up on getting those into all of the elementary school classrooms, we're going to fund 5 out of non-lapsing. So our non-lapsing total, what we've sort of decided is going to come out next year for our budget, is $155,000. Right now, unencumbered, we have about $195,000. So that is sort of how we got to where we're at. We're funding about $85,000 in technology out of the operating budget.
what is the insurance? How is that insurance working? I see the $30 charge, but
Is that the Chromebook insurance?
yeah, what are you covering?
Sure. So we've not done this yet. Right now, when we buy a Chromebook, the school also purchases the insurance. It's about $130 per machine. And they last about 4 years. So right now, that's us, and it replaces everything, which is great. If a kid breaks it, it's replaced. It's not a big deal, really great coverage. But as we're thinking about sustainability in this program, the thought was that we will charge parents $30 per Chromebook per year when their child is issued a Chromebook. So effectively, by the end, that insurance will be paid for by the parent, and those machines will still be covered. So if you look, do you have that chart? Are you looking?
Just, yeah, I'm looking at it.
So a board member had asked after our meeting on the 2nd, what does that really look like? Because we want to be able to talk about reinvesting that into our technology program. Of course, these numbers are all in theory. That also assumes that anyone that has free or reduced hot lunches
Yeah.
wouldn't be paying. So that's what those numbers are based on.
Okay, but I'm just curious, how much are these Chromebooks that you're buying?
Well, I think we have them right here. They're $450 a piece.
That's with the insurance. So you're paying $130 in insurance on a $300 piece of equipment.
That's right. I think it's really
Wow.
because of the population that's using them.
Okay, no? Yeah, I'm struggling with that. That seems like an incredibly high coverage.
Are
I
you
just can't-
replacing every third Chromebook?
What else? I mean, is it?
I mean,
just
that's what it is. That's what you're paying. It's to replace every third Chromebook.
what thing? What are you?
I think you're not necessarily replacing a Chromebook, but you're replacing a part of a Chromebook.
But three Chromebooks at $130 for the insurance will pay for one replacement. So if you're replacing, if like the kids are dropping and destroying one out of every three Chromebooks, then it makes sense. But if they're not, then we're overpaying for the Chromebooks with the insurance. So is it a insurance or is it a maintenance program?
It's both. So, and
Because insurance is different, is a different word.
so it covers anything that could happen to that Chromebook for the duration of the 4
So
years.
how many are you sending in a year?
I have
That's
no
like
idea. So we
important- That's
don't-
an important.
We don't
input to
monitor that,
this.
but what we do have is a group of people who do monitor that, right? And so we sent them back out to find better prices for teacher laptops, and they were able to do that. So this group of people are charged with doing that, and that's how they've come back to us, that this is, the
I'm sure they're
Chromebook
doing a great
program.
job. I'm just asking for the math, which I
Yeah.
think is also what Lou is
Well,
asking.
And I'll read you, if you have a group of people that are monitoring this, you should have a number to that.
I think we don't ask that number because we ask them to find us the Chromebooks that best meet our needs
Okay,
at the best price. And we also have our tech consultants that are working. So the tech consultants are the ones that helped us connect with this E-rate program.
when you're talking tech consultants, are those internal?
No, this is from Learn.
This is from
These are our
Learn.
consultants.
So they're not giving you any data saying, hey, you got 50%.
I'm
of
sure
these
they
systems-
are giving someone data and that's how they make decisions because these are the people that are putting Chromebooks in the hands of, every student around.
Yeah.
But if that number feels important to you, I'm happy to get it. I don't
It's
have
just-
it tonight.
It just keeps on going to the. Yeah, we'll just have Christine answer it because she wants to answer it.
Oh, well, Troy can speak to it if he knows.
Okay, so I understand the concern about paying $130 per relatively inexpensive Chromebook. But we've talked about this quite a bit. And it's really has to do with the ease of when one breaks, we just send it back and they send us a new one. I mean, it's that quick. We don't have to spend time trying to repair them because we don't have the insurance. And that, it requires a lot of time because there are things that happen on them, and almost anything that happens, we could just send it back and they send us a new one. Now, we've been advised by not just our technology committee, there was about 15 different people, including the experts from Learn, but also additional people that Learn to say, schools just buy that. They buy it. It's just a way it works better. It's more efficient to just buy the insurance on them. And we're looking to then collect that back from families, as Stephanie said.
So
So we did think about all of that. Well, that's right. That's true. Some of them are not even insured now.
So they're not all insured now.
Right.
So what happens with somebody that does not have the insurance on these Chromebooks?
What happens to the Chromebook?
Yeah, well, what happens with, hey, kid does kid things and something
Sometime-
happens with them.
Sometimes we charge the family if it was, intentional
Yeah,
damage. Yeah, so we charge a family
So-
for
so
that, and we
how do
would
you-
continue to do that if it was intentional damage. But we end up with a bunch of Chromebooks that are not functioning in the tech room, and we just don't have the personnel to be going through and repairing them all the time. So it's much easier to just say if one breaks, you hand it in, you get a
See
new
where I'm
one.
going with this.
So anyway, we didn't just make it up. We did think about the options,
I'm not
and
saying
that
you
was
are.
the
So-
best option.
So you're looking, just from somebody that's not really, laptop smart on this, you're looking to buy Chromebooks. You're looking to insure all of them.
Yes, no, any
Under
new ones
one
that we
price.
purchase.
And the
Would buy
parents
them.
won't have to pay for that insurance on top of that, even though
No, they will.
No, they will have
they will have to pay for it.
Yes, $30 a
Yeah.
year for the
I-
duration of the 4 years.
I think, Troy, my point is,
It's an ad.
like,
So
if you
what
can look
happens
at
with
you can
Chromebooks?
buy
They
30%
get the
more of your laptop inventory to replace, you can still do that. So unless less than 30% of
Oh,
your
yeah.
laptops, or sorry, unless more than 30% of your
Yeah.
laptops are being sent back and you're getting more than 30% replaced, it's
Yeah.
fine, but I don't think you're saving any money. Like, you can still do exactly what you said, because what I'm saying is if you bought just the laptops and no insurance, now your price is 2/3 of what it is, right? And whatever that gap is, you can self-insure, like, so
Yeah.
that's why I just
I-
curious about the math of it, because unless you're sending back
Yeah,
more than 30% of your
Right, and
total
we-
laptop supply.
we have done that. We've looked at the options, and still the best option was to have the insurance on these.
And Sarah, I think that happened because we do have, so I believe the first group that we bought had insurance, and then we bought a group without insurance. And so we're operating on both, and so we can see where the problem is. And we're paying a premium for convenience, absolutely, as is every other school that's purchasing Chromebooks with insurance.
So who gets the laptop at the end of the 4 years?
Currently, at the end of 4 years, a senior walks out the door with their laptop.
With the
And
laptop?
that's because they're no longer supported after 4 years, right? They're
So they get a
Chromebooks.
they get a paperweight.
Um,
And
sure, you could run other things on it. But you can't continue to do what we're doing, and they're just not going to be supported by Google, I think, at that point, right? Whoever runs it. However, one of the things that we spoke about in talking about moving to a more sustainable program is, do we want to take those back from seniors, and do we want to get those into the lower grades, right? Grades K through 3 that don't need necessarily running what we have, right? So can we put more Chromebooks in classrooms if we capture those at the end?
Christine, does that answer differ than your answer that you would give?
No, I just,
You gotta come up.
You gotta come up.
I don't think I have a perfect answer. I just have.
No, it's okay.
I mean, up until now, most of the stuff we purchased does not have insurance. And these kids break it all the time. It isn't necessarily that the thing's shattered and we need a new one. But what we were finding is our IT department, to Troy's point, had stacks of them. He's trying to order parts, trying to refurbish them, trying to do stuff with them. And in talking to other districts, the money works. It just makes sense. And especially if we're charging the family to pay for the insurance, it just makes absolute
So why
sense.
don't you just Why doesn't the school district absorb the cost of the insurance and have all the assets covered under the insurance? If you're buying a laptop and at the end of the 4 years, we are all acknowledging that it's basically a paperweight and really you can't really do much with it. Why isn't the school buying the insurance with it? If you guys are saying that we're having all these issues with the laptops, they're breaking, they're doing whatever. why-
Because up until now, a lot of times our budget was line item zeroed on IT. So we were doing what we could to get by.
Okay,
But we feel like we're at a point where we've come up with a solution of if the parent pays for the insurance, and if the parent doesn't want the insurance, they don't have to buy it, but they will be responsible for the device.
so it's $30 a year.
Yes.
Well, and I
4
want
years.
to, I want to sort of
That's
stop this for
120.
a
So who
second. Dan, I'm
pays-
just going to
who
hold you up for a
pays the
second.
$10?
This is not a, this is something that we haven't done and that we're considering to do next year in an effort to create more sustainability in our technology program and in an effort to stop inflating our budget, right? So we're looking to put some internal controls in place. So I don't think that we have the answers for you about what happens if, or should this is something that really has to be worked out. We have a chart because a board member asked for the chart. And we'll have to pay that insurance upfront, obviously, with the purchase of the laptop. But these are all the things that we're looking at as an opportunity to change the way that we're doing things.
Okay. Now, this is not a lot of money,
No,
not a lot of money.
no.
However, lowering your budget by offloading expenses to parents who are also taxpayers in the town is not lowering your budget.
I agree with
You're
you.
just moving the expense.
I agree with you. The interesting
I
thing
don't think
here that we struggle with, right,
Yeah.
is that we don't have a way to finance a grade 5 through 8 one-to-one program without doubling the amount of Chromebooks that we have to purchase every year. Right? So we're trying to think about different ways that we can offset that. The interesting thing about charging a child's parent who has the Chromebook is that the expense isn't being spread out amongst all taxpayers, right? It's being given to the consumer who's using that.
Well, you could argue that that's fundamentally against the concept of public education,
You could.
but we won't go there for now. For now. Are the Chromebooks fundamental to the delivery of the education?
We
that you're
believe, yes,
providing?
they are.
Fundamental.
We believe so. And we
Then-
believe that as we move forward, and this will, like I said, these will be further conversations with the board because we have not officially adopted a
Okay.
grades 5 through 8 one-to-one program. But based on what has been presented to the board, based on the research that's coming out, based on what our director of learning and instruction tells us,
Mhm.
as well as our administrators and the technology team, this is the best move that we can make on behalf of our students.
Okay, then just my opinion, if it's fundamental to the delivery of the education, then all of that cost should be included in your budget. And on top of that, be able to deliver that with the percentages that we had said, this is what you need to be limited to. Note again, this is a small dollar amount, so not,
Right.
but to move that like this, if it's fundamental to delivering the product, then I can't, why isn't it in the budget in total?
So it is in the budget in
So-
total. And the way that we'll work to recoup that money will be something that we work on over the next year. So if you see, the cost is $450 per laptop. So that's in the budget. I hear what you're saying,
Which
that you're saying $450 and in 4 years, you'll have taken back 130 of that 450,
Okay,
right?
so you get charged the $130 insurance fee on
That's
day
right.
one,
That's right,
and you're
with the purchase.
not escrowing or expensing it. And, right. So you write out, and so then you're collecting it. So it's in the budget right now,
It is.
and we're going to expense that this year, the insurance and the laptops. And then you're going to collect money for the next 3 or 4 years,
4 years.
even though we've already paid for it.
That's right.
So that's a cash flow benefit.
Peter, one of the other
Right, I
factors
mean-
is not just to pay the insurance, and that's how we did the calculation based on the number of insurance, but it's also the kind of the buy-in of the student, like, hey, this is your Chromebook that you're being issued. And yes, it's for the use of it. You get paid a $30 fee for using it for the year. It's not unusual for schools to do that if they give out like iPads, laptops or Chromebooks to have a user fee. And it does increase that ownership of it and hopefully the care that the student, gives to that machine. Because they feel like they have some ownership of it and the families feel like they have more ownership of that technology.
Right, but this coverage help if as a software glitch, a piece of equipment on it wears out, breaks, but not if they're being malicious, if they take it and they slam it on the ground. Insurance isn't going to cover that.
It
Is
is.
that, if they take it, you said earlier, if there was malicious intent, if that happened,
Right,
then the
well,
insurance wouldn't.
we would charge the student for
And we have uninsured.
purposely
I'm
damaging
only caring about
school
the
property.
insurance.
We would
But
charge the
under the
student.
insurance one, now, the program that you're talking about, some young child takes the thing, throws it up against the wall.
We would charge them anyway regarding
they have
whether it
insurance.
has insurance or not, because they're purposely damaging school property.
The whole thing doesn't make sense.
I think the other piece, again, that we're sort of maybe sort of coming off the path a bit is that you're looking at a chart that a board member asked for as we were talking about new ways to look at things. I don't know how this is going to go. I don't know how it will shake out. I don't know that in September, anyone's being charged $30. This is something that we're evolving. You have all charged us to look at our budget differently. And so we're trying different ways to look at it. We all decided as a board, this technology is really important to us. And we want to figure out how to be delivering that to our kids and not just how to deliver it 1 year and then be trying to figure out how to deliver it year 2, 3, and 4, but do it and do it right. And so much like it took a while for everyone to figure out how to get the capital plan rolling, how do we do it? Do you finance? Do you buy up front? What do you do? Are we saving? I think this is going to take us a while, but we're really committed to working on it. And right now, I don't have the answers to that because it was a 1 meeting, 30-minute discussion about an opportunity to reinvest in our technology program in a way that could help continue to get this technology into our kids' hands. So I'm happy to report back as we come back with, I think, more long-term solutions to our technology program. I think you said it. It's even at the end of, 4 years, the dollar amount's pretty low. That's not going to put much of a dent in. So I think as we design what that program looks like and how we're going to fund it, we can probably have a more fruitful conversation.
Steph, I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
So I listened to the meeting the other night and looking at the file, I'm still not able to trace the $12,000 grant. It just doesn't seem to appear in the numbers. So are you confident that it's in here?
Well, I'm going to ask Kathy, who's online, because it wasn't on there the other night.
Okay.
Hey, it's Kathy.
Hi, Kathy. It's here.
Hey.
Print out and bought a shiny new iPhone 16.
Oh, I can't click into that.
We're hearing your
Oh, sorry.
Experts say the price of the latest iPhone.
Okay.
So I think what Winona, if you're saying Winona, that you see it on
I see it.
this
in-
sheet, but
yes.
you don't see it in our line item
Correct. So
budget.
it had been showing up under the technology section. It was under the new equipment.
Yes.
Row 93 and the last version of the,
I had an iPhone 11, I was fine, but
and I don't see it in the new detail. And I know that during the meeting on, I think your meeting was Monday night, or Tuesday, I don't know, whatever meeting you guys had, it was not in the detail.
Yes.
So I want to make sure that the math is in the math so that we don't have a $12,000 error somewhere.
I agree. Kathy, can you point that out?
Hold on. So are you looking at, you see the budget versus non-lapsing on line 8?
Yeah, that's not where it matters. Where it matters is in the detail, I think.
Okay, well, if you're looking at that and the total is 85,500 and you trace that back to the summary sheet where it's 85,500, then the 12,000 deduction is included in the 85,500.
So it's line 93 of the detail line. I'm sorry, of
The
the
summary.
summary. That's the tech total, and that takes the
Includes the
$12,000
12,000.
into consideration that's on the
Yep.
budget versus non-lapsing sheet.
Yes, ma'am.
Does that make sense, Winona?
So that's only a change of $3,000 though. So because the new equipment line was 88.5 and now it's 85.5. That's the math that I'm,
I think it was 88.5 on Monday before we moved smart boards out back into the non-lapsing. So 88.5 was 10 smart boards, and we've backed 5 out and taken those back into non-lapsing. Does that get the math closer?
how much is a smart board
$20,000.
for one?
No, for 5.
4,000 apiece.
If anybody, if anybody's referring to the paper handouts that I gave you, those were extra copies from our meeting Monday. So you really should be referring to the electronic one we sent out yesterday morning and the one that's on the whiteboard here. I just gave that out because you were looking
No,
for the
no, no,
reduction
so-
sheet.
I'm online. I'm
Okay,
on-
online. Yeah,
I'm
I just want to make
online.
sure everybody's referring to the one, the electronic copy, not
But
the
so
one
that-
paper I
that's
handed out at your
Really
convenience today.
important. So you're not looking at, but the rest of you are looking at different numbers.
So we started at 88.5. And we took out 20,000 for the whiteboard, the smart boards, which gets us to 68.5. So yeah, this math is not hanging together. So Kathy, I'm gonna need you to just check this, please, before the end of this meeting to make sure that 85.5 in what is now row 224, new equipment is the right number. And just humor me. I know that you're better at math than I am, but just humor me and get me to the 85.5, please, before the end of this conversation.
What line were you talking, you said?
It's row 224 on the detail budget.
Oh.
So Mike, just for background, so on Monday night, there was a lot of ins and outs on this technology section of the smart boards and the grant. The grant is really where the math got wonky because it was in and it was out. And I'm not able to reconcile to the 85.5 that's in here. I just want to make sure that this math is correct because this is all precedent on getting us to the 4% number. So I'm asking Kathy to just validate that this is
Yep.
correct.
I got you.
Okay, so that's my first question. Sorry. The second question I had was around on the budget reduction consideration. I know we talked about this at the meeting 2 weeks, I don't know, 2 weeks ago. The unemployment compensation, we have it as an addition of 30,000, but that was already baked in to line item 34. We had already included that here, so it's not a new addition, correct? It was already in addition to the first round of changes, is that correct?
So I don't think this amount, I think addition means that we took that out. So addition isn't like plus, but rather additionally. So we've taken out $30,000. Troy, would you agree that the unemployment compensation isn't an addition to the budget, but rather a new item that we were removing $30,000?
No, you
From our
guys had to
budget.
add that in because that's a plus.
It is a plus, and what we're comparing is the budget at 6.46% to the budget at 4%. The budget at 6.46% did not have unemployment in it, and now that we we have some rifts. That unemployment is a combination of unemployment as well as the retirement bonus. So that's why it's an addition. It was never in the 6.46 budget because there weren't any headcount reductions.
Oh, okay, so wait, that, can't imagine that that's actually true because you have unemployment in the fiscal year 25 budget. So please hold.
We always have unemployment in our budget because there are people that are currently collecting unemployment.
So then you definitely had unemployment in your 646 budget.
Right, we've added to it.
Okay, so you increased the unemployment that was in your 646 budget. You didn't have zero in your 646.
So I misspoke, Gary.
Added,
It
right.
is additive.
Okay, that I can get. All right. Last of my three, while Kathy is still reconciling my 85.5. The Cub Club, $10,000. Can you help me understand what we're doing? What we're doing with the Cub Club?
I sure can.
Okay, so you're referring to the non-lapsing versus budget
Yes.
chart, right?
Yes, sorry.
Okay, yes. So the Board of Ed, earlier in the year, like I believe last summer, actually voted to spend up to $35,000 to support the Cub Club, starting because it's new. And we believe that we're not going to have to spend that whole 35,000. We think the most we would spend is 10. So the rest of that money can go back into uncommitted in the non-lapsing. The rest of that 35,000.
What do we, I guess, just high level, like, what do we do? What are we funding with the 10,000? Like, what are we actually doing? Are we like?
Okay, so it could
buying
be
stuff?
staff,
Are we
it could
paying
be.
For staff, yeah, like what?
Could
are we
be
doing?
paying for staff, hourly rate for staff. It could be for supplies, arts and crafts, activities, for the Cub Club. We have a subscription where, we pay, for a website for parents to be able to pay for and sign up for sessions using their credit card. Okay, that costs something. So there are fees associated and costs associated with the Cub Club. We wanted to make sure that it gets up and running. So that's what that 10,000 is. It's the maximum amount we think that the board would have to fund from their non-lapsing to support Cub Club.
Do we think that the Cub Club will be self-sustaining at some point?
So it has been. We voted that $35,000 before Cub Club started, saying, like, look, what happens if we're running it and all of a sudden 1 month, there's not enough kids? We don't have a net anywhere. And so we put that there. And like Troy said, now that it's been running a year, we're not so worried about that. And so we were able to sort of de-obligate
Okay.
that money and
Just
put it
curious.
back in.
Yeah, just curious. Thank you.
But the Cub Club should be self-sustaining.
So I had asked this a couple meetings ago. It's like Groundhog Day. My understanding was it's self-sustaining, period, dot, end of story. So why is that there?
We put that there last year, $35,000.
Yeah,
In
I
case.
caught that. So why is it there next year if we are self-sustaining?
It's
now?
not next year, it's just a carryover. So we got rid of $25,000 and put it back in
But there's
the
no-
general
But you've already
fund.
proven that there's no need for it. So I don't, anyway, it's $10,000. I get it. I think we're pole vaulting over some really small stuff here, but
It's okay.
that kind of stuff should not occur. If it's a pre-care or aftercare that's solely funded by the individual parents that are using it, we shouldn't be carrying budget for
We
it.
just want to make sure the program doesn't fall apart if there's a bad month. We want to create an opportunity for this program to sustain, and it's done it so far. We're really happy with what's happening, how it's being used, how it's being run. And we just want to make sure that we're not sabotaging something that's really working for parents in the community. And so we haven't needed it, so we just have it here. It's sort of sitting here
Yeah,
if we do.
I'm speaking Spanish and you're hearing French. I get it.
I know you don't like
But we
it.
should. But we.
No, he
yeah.
knows it's not in the budget.
I know it's not in the budget. It's just, it's showing that it's there in case you need it, and I don't understand why we would do that, but I'll go back to sleep.
Stephanie, could you just move that slide down so I could see the first 14 rows of it? Thank you.
Thanks, Susan.
Winona, back to your question regarding where we were the other evening. Before we started shifting things around, at the Board of Ed meeting, we had presented, I believe, 117,500 in the operating budget for technology. And that was comprised of smart boards, 40,000, Chromebooks, 40,500, teacher laptops, 16,800, and switches, 20,200. We've since moved things between the operating budget and the non-lapsing account so that what you're seeing currently is what's in there. So smart boards went, let me make sure I'm giving you the right numbers. Smart boards went from where we were before, 40,000 to 20,000. Chromebooks went from 40,500 to the 40,500 less 12,000 for the grant. Teacher laptops remained at 16,800 and switches at 20,200. And that brings us from 117,500 to 85,500.
Does that make sense, Winona? Thanks, Kathy.
Yep.
Winona, do you have other number questions for Kathy?
I don't think so. Did anybody take the early retirement package that you were talking about?
Yes. We had one full-time teacher and one part-time teacher take the early retirement package.
Is that good? Or were you?
I think we are not realizing the savings that we hope to because there was a part-time position, but also the teacher the full-time position that retired, and I can say this because the position's posted, it was a French teacher, and it's hard to find a French teacher. And so we're worried that we may not be able to find a replacement at a lower step. So we've advertised, Troy contacted some people who are training French teachers, and hopefully that will be the case. But I think it's different. It's sort of a specialty market that maybe there's not a ton of high school French teachers out there.
Okay. Does anyone have any specific questions about how they got to the 4% and the budget that they're presenting? I know you had good points about this, make sure the math works. That's our job. I think I just want to just wrap this up a little bit where we have a Board of Education that does a lot of work and a central office that does a lot of work to try to educate our kids. There's some minutia talked about tonight about, getting down into the weeds of what is appropriate, not, or whatever. And, I thank you guys for answering those questions because, it's your budget, it's your school to run. It's always good to get feedback, and we are the feedback people. I don't think it's a problem for you to say, we are going to provide you student with a Chromebook. We're going to pay for the insurance. But if you don't want to pay for the Chromebook out of pocket, here's your opportunity to pay $30. And you're going to have, you're going to have less of an opportunity to have to pay for a Chromebook on your own. But that's just me. Other than that, we have a 4% budget that you guys passed, 4% increase budget. And we are going to vote on whether or not we move this forward to a public hearing. And so I'm going to move the Board of Education. Which draft is this? 6? Which 3? What is it? Draft what?
I don't know
What draft is
it
this?
for us.
Well, the Board of Education that was approved as of April 7th, 2025. 16 million $56,441 to move that to public hearing.
Are we good with that number? It's not gonna change.
Not between now and the public hearing.
It can't change.
Making sure. If we announce it and it changes like halfway down, I don't know, how does that work?
I think we're fine until the public hearing.
Okay.
It shouldn't change. That's what they voted. And that's where we're moving.
Okay.
Can we get a second and then we can
Second.
further discussion on that? Get a second? Second by Gary. Additional discussion?
Yeah, I listened in on Monday and I think it was Monday. They all blend together. I'm a little concerned about some of the items and the reductions taken and not really knowing where that reduction is going to be garnered, especially around the general maintenance line item, took a $30,000 hit, which is a big hit. And knowing that Bob and Alan took the infrastructure, the bricks and mortar of the school, I don't know where that number is going to come from. You got to put paper towels in the bathroom. You got to have soap in the soap dispensers. I'm a little concerned about that.
We didn't cut that line item, Gary.
No, I know it was general maintenance.
Right, so we kept the supply line.
Okay.
We funded it a little higher even than we funded it this year because of the overrun. So that's the
No, the
paper
30
towels and the soap
Okay,
and all
the
that stuff.
$30,000 reduction in general maintenance has me concerned. We'll
That's
just
the
leave it at that.
services, yeah. It's risky.
Any other discussion?
I am concerned about the cutting of summer school because that's generally the kids that need the most help. But at this point, I think, we'll hear from the town at public hearing. So.
So listening into that meeting, it's not, forgive me, I'm going to fumble over the words, Troy, catch me. It's not the kids that need help necessarily. It's the kids that could benefit but aren't at risk of falling behind. Do I have that right?
The kids that we'll still provide summer school for are extended school year kids. So
Yep.
those are kids with IEPs or perhaps their 504 plan dictates that. But I think Sarah's right that there is a subset of kids that don't have that designation.
So I was getting to that. And there was a long discussion with Troy and his staff that it would be, their professional assessment was it wasn't going to be impactful. That was the word I heard. Is that correct?
Yes.
It's not that it's not impactful at all.
Right.
Okay, there is some positive impact, obviously. There's some positive impact. But when we had to look at it and cut the budget down to 4%, it just didn't take a priority over other items that we felt needed to be in the budget.
But that's not what Miss St. Germain said when she got on the phone. She was on the phone and she came off of mute and she chimed in because you sort of polled the audience. There's a big section of the meeting that talked about this specifically. And
Speaking in the mic.
Well,
I'm trying to allow people make eye contact. I'm
So-
not wearing a mic. But go ahead.
We had a lot of discussion
Yeah.
about a lot of items in the budget and prioritized. And yes, summer school has some positive impact. It does. Okay, but when we looked at the other options, and honestly, the summer school, ESY we're going to do, right? ESY for the students that have it in their plan, we're doing that. But in terms of regular ed summer school, it just wasn't as, it's not that there's no impact, it's just that other things we felt like will have a bigger impact than the summer school. The summer school, by the way, is 16 days at 3 hours a day, 16 days in July. Okay, and we did say that we would monitor kids' data at the end of the year and at the beginning of the year, kind of measure that summer learning loss. And just see how that goes. A lot of schools do not run regular summer school. Now, it made sense, like after the pandemic and coming out, to make sure kids are caught up. But we have other things that are really important in the budget, like intervention teachers that we want to keep. We have a new reading program. We're always looking to improve instruction during the year for all kids. So we really feel like in the technology, putting our money behind all of that is a larger impact than just having a few extra kids participate in 16 days of summer school. And there's some research that supports that summer school really is not that impactful overall. But yes, obviously, it's not that there's no impact on summer school. It's just when, we had a budget of 6.46 that included the summer school. And now we had to give you a budget that's 4%. So some things had to come out of the budget.
And I think these are all great points, whether or not, $30 is, or the insurance is small money, it should be in the budget, whether or not summer school should be in the budget, whether or not a lot of things should be in the budget. They can't be in the budget because we told the Board of Education that they had to be at 4%. We told the Board of Selectmen they had to be 4%. So all these issues, I encourage everybody in town, everybody online, anybody in the room, if you have concerns, if your child is going to be impacted, you have an opportunity at the budget hearing to say this, we need to have this back in the budget. But I'm proud of this board for getting the two other boards to a spot where we think that we might have a palatable, passable budget. There's been a lot of hard hits, so I commend the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Education for doing that hard work. We have a process where we're going to go to a public hearing and we're going to hear from the public to find out how did we do on our asks, and should something be removed, should something be added, and then we'll have an opportunity to come back and talk about it again. But any further discussion on moving this Board of Education approved budget forward to a public hearing?
I just want to restate what I said, because I wasn't saying that there was an impact or not an impact. All I was saying is typically the children that go to summer school are the children that need the most help. And they're usually, I think, on the younger side, earlier in their educational experience. So that is a fact. Whether or not, you want to, it can be debated that summer school helps them or not. My concern, and I also I voted no on the 4%. So I do think we'll see what comes out of the town hearing, but I do think the cuts went real deep, and it concerns me when it's to services that help, that services that are meant for the children that really need the extra help.
Sarah, I think if you watch our meeting, I don't know if you did, I think summer school was probably the biggest piece of the discussion. I think the board echoes what you're saying, that that one feels bad. Our administrators are saying it's okay, we could do it without it, but it certainly feels like, we're taking something from a kid, and that doesn't feel great. I'm happy that we were able to restore some stuff. A non-certified position and a 0.6 of an FTE back. But yeah, summer school felt uncomfortable.
And points well taken, Sarah. And, we're all members of this town, and there are going to be public comments at the hearing, and I encourage anyone to speak their mind as a citizen. And, but yeah, there was a lot, there are things that are important to many of us that can't be in this budget. But we are at a point right now where we're going to let the town talk about it. So all those in favor with moving the budget for the Board of Education from 4/7/2025 forward, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Passes 6-0.
Thank you, guys.
I left the undesignated fund discussion on here in case we had any additional comments or wanted any additional discussion about what's in the fund or the policy or, but I mean, I think it's premature for that. I just left it on there in case we had a talk. You know, look, other than Suzanne, do you have the mill rate spreadsheet? If we could have the 4% budget from both Board of Education and Board of Selectmen on there to see where we are.
So I added the Board of Ed on the spreadsheet, 16056441.
Yep.
This, I don't know if this is in the revenue or not. Let's see, what do we have? for new? $642.59. Is that the correct one, Bob? The 642.5918?
Yeah, you put out a budget today with a new number in it, right? Just for, okay.
No, you didn't update that. Bob, is the new revenue in the new budget that we just did? Okay.
So what you sent out today, I know we have the cover page with the new number on it. But those are all on the expense side.
Yeah.
So-
This is new revenue.
Excel has cover page, budget summary, original mill rate calculation, new mill rate from assessor. Is that,
Yeah, this is the total revenue. 24071.
two, 4, 0?
24071,147 is our total for proposed revenue.
All right, go, then, yeah, go back to that other one.
No, it's not updated.
Why is that low? Why would it be lower?
I don't know. I don't have that. Mm-mm. This is what. 240. 2407147. what's the total revenue, so to do for the, mill rate? I don't know, that's what they're talking about. You don't have the 4.
You said no. Yeah.
I'm not even, I'm not even gonna mess with this right now because
Because of the Board of Appeals, they jockeyed that number. I don't know how much that number got jockeyed around, but it happened last night. So they
Yeah, I don't
have
have
not
that
been able
changed.
to update that number. Yeah, so. So yeah, we're kind of behind the 8 ball on that one. So Daryl will have to give us a new number for that. So it's not even really worth talking about right now.
no, I mean, as far as we have 2 expense budgets. We have a revenue projections that, to Dan's point, there's Board of Assessment Appeals, things that happen that might change things a little bit. There's the number for the motor vehicle tax that's in there, but I'm not gonna sit here and this will be updated by the time the town hearing happens. So it's gonna be part of a discussion about where are we with the numbers as is, and so that will be part of the hearing.
How can we vote to move it forward though if we don't know the number?
What?
How can we vote to move it forward if we don't have the final number?
Yeah, but we're not moving the revenue portion of it. We're not moving the revenue portion of it. We're only doing the expenditure side of it.
Oh, okay. So we can't do the mill rate. I get it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're not set.
Yeah, to Sarah's point, when we move the budgets forward for the public hearing, it's the expenditures budgets. It's the government expenditures, it's the Board of Education expenditures. It's not necessarily the revenue side.
We've had things change up until the last year. Before we had to change the budget. Especially during COVID.
Does everyone want to go through this worksheet right now?
If we don't have the total number for revenue, I don't think we should, because they're gonna change as we find out the total number.
Right.
Well, we're not going to change the expenditure at this point. so
Exactly.
We should just move it forward.
We've
And
already moved we've already moved the Board of Selectmen budget forward for the public hearing. We've already done the Board of Education. This was just an exercise in saying, hey, let's just see where we are, just for the purposes of determining, is there going to be, a mill rate increase as is, or what?
Has the mill rate been updated online yet?
Not yet.
Do you think we should fix that before the meeting on Monday?
I would love that.
Okay.
It hasn't changed in 2
Bob,
years.
Can we get on that? Can we get the mill rate updated on the website for the town before the hearing on the 21st? I don't think it's updated.
All right, so we have nothing really to discuss about the undesignated fund at this point. Exactly. I knew it wasn't either because I've seen it 1,000 times. I'm like, why is it still the same? It was last year, we reduced it by 0.11.
Just just for reference, I usually don't say much unless I've investigated it first.
All right, we're moving on to item number 5, review of minutes. We have minutes that Amy provided to us. Yeah, I did too. From 4/2/2025, I moved to accept the April 2nd, 2025 minutes as presented. With a second by Dan. I'll give you a second to look at it if you haven't had a chance. No. I'll talk about them. Any discussion on the minutes? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 6-0.
So Mike, I think we have a couple, or at least one letter that was asked to be read into public comment. Oh, at the public hearing. Okay, thank you.
So
Never
just
mind.
so we have, well, this, before we get into public comments, we received several, numerous letters, regarding the giving closet, in the last several days. And, most, if not all, have requested to be read into the town meeting, the town hearing. And so we're not doing that today in this forum. And I would just recommend that those who have taken the time to write those letters of support or in opposition, whatever your case may be, to come and you'll have an opportunity to read your letters at the hearing. I don't think it'll be as effective if I get up there and fumble over your words and read it into the record. I would ask that you come to the meeting, the hearing, and make your voice heard, make your face seen, and if you feel passionate about it, you let your passion show. So if there is, I'll try to keep track, and if there are people that can't make it or whatever, let us know, and we will read those into the record. But for the most part, I would just have people come in and read their own letters. That's how I would like it. Any public comment on tonight's meeting? Sure. We have a question from Chair Mastriani.
Just a process question. So you are calling for a public hearing on what day?
It's on the 21st.
At what time?
6:30.
Perfect. And then on the 23rd, you have a meeting.
We do.
We have a meeting as well. So our meeting is at 5:30, and then you'll have your meeting at 7. What happens at your meeting that day?
We are supposed to talk about what we heard at the public hearing.
Do you require, so when do you have to move what you decide to do
Give me a second.
to a meeting? I want to make sure our meetings line up with your meetings.
Sure. Yeah, so we're going to vote to move to the actual public hearing, which will be on Monday, April 21st at 6:30. And then we meet again for adjustments to the budgets based upon the hearing on Wednesday, the 23rd. And right in our schedule on Friday, April 25th, there'll be a special Board of Selectmen meeting to call the annual town meeting. So we will have to have adjustments voted on to the Board of, to both budgets on that Wednesday meeting.
So my
The 23rd.
concern is that we're gonna meet at 5:30 and you're gonna meet at 7. Do you need a new approved budget from us based on your recommendations? What do you need from us on the 23rd?
Yeah, I feel like we got, I don't, somehow, we missed a Monday in there that we could have used.
Can we just, what are we trying to solve? So like, if say something comes back, and so typically something comes back in the town meeting and we decide, it's really only if we decide we're gonna add, correct? I mean, I know, so I'm just trying to do the logistics, right? So if we add something to the Board of Selectmen budget, we can just add it, like, and then give it back to them. But the Board of Ed should, they wouldn't know to add something in until we've had the discussion, so they have to come second.
That's the logistical problem that I'm concerned about.
I mean, so but we can still do it on the 23rd. I mean, it means they have to move theirs, right?
Right,
Which
so
know
I
is
mean,
annoying.
I would think that the solution is that so we have a regular meeting scheduled. So we filed our meetings like you did with this budget schedule in mind, so they're regular meetings. So we have a regular meeting scheduled for 5:30. I could call for a special meeting on Thursday after your Wednesday, so on the 24th, to vote if there's a change, but I would have to call for that, right? I couldn't wait until Thursday morning to call for that, but I could cancel it. So that we would be prepared for the selectmen, because I think when they call for the town meeting, they have to have the correct total.
Just so I can, because I'm the newer guy. You gave us this and we said, okay. What changes between now and then?
Maybe nothing, but if you receive feedback at the budget hearing,
That's the whole point.
right?
So we go to the budget hearing.
Yeah.
And we hear convincing arguments but not voted, but just convincing arguments from the people from town, then we would revisit this.
Correct.
Just based
Right.
on some really convincing arguments.
That's correct.
Okay.
Sometimes it's volume, like I've seen, one year the.
Weed control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got
Big
taken
year.
out and like 20 people called in, right? So
Well, I
it
can
was
appreciate
very,
why you would do
yeah.
that. But I was, no.
Well, we're just responding to the public comment. So we're just listening, because otherwise why do the public comments if people? Yeah, but we're not talking about like massive impacts to the budget. We're talking about giving the population the opportunity to give input. But if they don't believe we're actually going to do anything with the input, then what's the point of having the hearing? So I think it's important to have the space to take the input and act on it if necessary.
So I think I can
Well,
make
you're
that
you're
work.
part of this board, so you should speak your mind.
I don't have an objection if it makes everybody's life a little easier to flip the meeting times. Like, you can't make it.
I'm
It
okay
also
with
gives you a real finite period of time to be able to,
It gives us a hard stop for once.
yeah.
I'm just trying to look to see if, yeah, we have to, we want to set the mill rate before, obviously, before the end of June.
We have to go to a town meeting. That first, that's it, like, or. We broke it in the past.
Right, we've talked about that
That
before,
was a
so
different
by
administration.
moving it by a week, I don't think it's gonna kill anybody.
That was a different administration.
It has to be on May 5th, Brett?
Has to be, yeah.
Whatever day of that May.
First Monday in May. May 5th.
And that's the problem. That's the main problem.
Yeah, but I feel like this is solvable without moving that.
Yeah, I can call the special meeting for Thursday.
If you're comfortable doing that, that's the solution.
That's what we'll do. I just want to be prepared. I don't think you would.
We don't need, wait, oh,
There hasn't been really any changes at town meeting.
that's a good point. So if they change their budget, then we have to move that budget forward. So we also need to meet again anyway.
We could vote to move it to the select.
Right, so, I mean,
Come out of town meeting, everything's good, we still have to move it both budgets to the select, so they can vote it.
I feel like
Friday the 25th.
Here's
having a
another,
meeting on Friday, the 25th. Yeah, no, I see it. I'm looking at your calendar. Yeah, we would have to meet Friday before their meeting. If there's
we have
changes.
another possibility. But the meeting on Monday is our meeting. Monday, the 21st.
Oh,
So you hear what the town has to say. And we have a meeting thereafter, we'll continue the meeting thereafter to discuss what the town says and make suggestions.
saves me 15 minutes each way because I live.
Only missing will be pitchforks.
Why not, though?
No. Yeah.
So we would have the town hearing.
I'm just saying this
And
is,
then the Board of Finance
this
meeting?
is a solution
Monday?
there.
No, okay, I just want to
Peanut
make sure I'm
gallery.
following. So Monday, the 21st, we would have the town hearing. And then we would have a Board of Finance meeting.
I'll bring brownies.
Well, the public hearing is our meeting,
Yeah. and then we
is our
would have-
meeting anyway.
And then we would have a continued meeting for us to digest all of that and decide whether we have anything to give to Stephanie's.
Correct. On the 23rd.
It's,
No, we're moving to set that meeting tonight.
So that would be a special.
I feel like you'd probably have to do just a couple. Yeah, but even, that's just like, what, 5 minutes to make the extra agenda? It's not.
Yeah.
Discuss and review inputs, make any appropriate recommendations to the Board of Selectmen, Board of Ed, adjourn.
Things that are history over the last 15 years, I think, putting forth a special meeting. There hasn't been really any changes. You're not saying it wouldn't happen, but
Need control.
no, that happened. That happened.
Okay, so what are our options?
No,
Our
that was
options are to have two meetings Monday night or to meet Wednesday, Thursday, or Wednesday, Friday. What time is the Board of Selectmen meeting on Friday?
I think there's one more iteration that you have the hearing on Monday. You meet on Tuesday. I meet at 5:30 on Wednesday. Make whatever changes you need. You vote on it at 7 o'clock on Wednesday. So your special meeting is Tuesday rather than later in the week.
Is there any reason we're not having meeting or held some of these meetings the week of the 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th?
There's nothing to change until we hear from the town,
Until the
until we hear from the town people.
20th. Okay. All right.
Welcome to government.
Even if we do that on the 22nd, she votes on the 23rd, we have to come back and say.
No, we have a meeting on the 23rd. We'd meet afterwards to,
So if they get it voted on the 23rd before our meeting on the 23rd.
correct,
Then we can go forward.
yes.
So I have a 5:30, you have a 7.
I think that's the best method is we come back on the 22nd. We have 3 meetings in a row. We have the town hearing on the 21st. We have a special meeting on the 22nd. To decide, see if we're going to take any suggestions and recommend to either board that they change their budgets. The Board of Education will meet on the 23rd at 5:30.
And I would check, I don't know if you have to meet after they change the budget again. We sent it to a town meeting. I'm not sure you have to meet. Said add this much dollars back into one of the budgets. I'm not sure you have to meet again and say that's okay.
I don't disagree with you, Brett, because I just don't want to see how this schedule ever worked. If we had to do that.
I don't think that's. Then you want, we meet Wednesday.
So I think realistically, what we're talking about here is that we go to the town hearing on the 21st, and there's 200 people here that says, put summer school back in, and it's $31,000. And we meet on Wednesday and say, put summer school back in, and we tell
We
them
put
that.
$30,000 back.
Then they put $30,000 back in, and they do it, and then we say to the Board of Selectmen, here's the budget, send it to the town meeting, right? Like, that's it. Like, we don't have to have another meeting with them after they put the money back in to say, good job, right?
Yeah, I just don't know, because like, I agree with Brett. I don't remember doing that, but at the same time, why would we not want to have a vote on record to move the full budget forward? That would be, I just feel like it's
Yeah, so what is the process?
well, usually you vote on the full budget to move it forward.
Because that has to be put in the paper. Yeah. That's what Wesley son or not. The other day.
So we have to go on the town meeting at the total dollar amount.
But we tell you what that number is. Correct. There's no way that we're gonna put forth a number that we didn't vote on.
I think it's different this time because I don't know if it's a high likelihood that any of it will change, but the highest likely change would probably be summer school. And we haven't had Board of Ed change in the past. In the past, you've added things back into the Board of Selectmen budget, which we have more authority to do. So you can say, here, we're going to add in 5,000 for weed control, and now this is the new number, and you're done in one sitting.
But I don't even know yet. Guess you'd have to look through, I don't know, we don't have line item control over the.
Correct,
We
right.
have total budgetary, so you could, you might be able to vote to say, put that 31,000 into your budget, and the Board of Ed might not even have to vote on it.
Put it this way,
You don't know.
I think they would be I think they would be all right if we put $30,000 back into their budget. I think they would be more, it would be not receptive if we took $30,000 out of the budget.
Yeah.
They would probably want to vote on that.
Because
So,
you're not doing line item change.
yeah,
You're
it's just
saying
the bottom
add
line.
$1 back.
It's the dollar
So
value
They
of
might
the
not
bottom.
even have to vote. You
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah, and we would just hope they would use it for what?
Say, still meet on Wednesday, have the meeting on Monday, wait a day, just follow what's already approved.
Okay, so what's the plan? The 21st, 22nd, and the 23rd? Or
Just
the
give me a
22nd?
sec, give me 1 second, 'cause I'm looking at last year's minutes to find out what we did.
What
All
happened?
right, so we had the budget hearing on April 22nd.
So what happens to that timeline? If we had to meet on Monday, the 28th, and then they met 28th that night to send it to town, puts it off by 4 days. I mean, you can't.
We have to advertise the budget in the paper, so you can't
Right, so
wait till
instead
the
of-
night before.
So it'd still be 3 days behind of a new date to put it out.
So we have to have the town meeting on the 5th because we need 2 weeks to advertise and then put the town meeting. It's got to be 14 days when we call it. If we move them back a week from the 19th to the 26th, the 26th is Memorial Day. So we couldn't move it back 1 week because we're now on a holiday. So we have to keep it on the 19th. That's why it's the
Holiday,
night.
that answers my question.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, last year, we had it on the 22nd, and on the 24th, we came in here, we told you to move it to a town meeting, so.
Last year, Memorial Day was like the 30th or 31st, wasn't it?
I know, but we never even. Yeah, we just moved it through, and he was still mad.
Sorry.
Okay, well, we have our meeting on the 23rd. I don't know if you're gonna need a meeting on the 23rd, unless you have other business.
I do. So I already have an agenda.
Okay, all right. So if we have more suggestions for you, you might want to just call a special meeting on Tuesday or call a special meeting, put an agenda out to meet on Thursday, just in case. Have Antoinette put a meeting out that it's gonna be a special meeting, so you need what, 2?
You'll see the asset, you'll see where everybody's going.
Mhm.
If there's a lot of outcry, well, that's how things.
I guess, can anybody clarify if you need a vote from us? That's the question. So I'm happy to call a special meeting, but I don't, I guess, I don't, I like to be respectful of our board's time as well. And I know that they'll want to be present at the hearing on Monday, and then we do have a regular meeting on Wednesday, the 23rd. And so I don't want to call a meeting just for a meeting. So if the process is, regardless of the feedback that you give us, you push that number forward and then we deal with that feedback later. Like we could do that, but if you don't need a vote from us, I don't want to call a meeting on that Thursday.
I do think if we direct you to change your budget in some fashion, I think you do have, you do have to, and then we will then still have to vote to direct the Board of Selectmen to send it to a town.
So you would still have to have a meeting after my Thursday meeting before their Friday meeting.
Okay, there's general statute, the Board of Finance cannot make changes to individual line items in the Board of Ed budget, can only change the total BOE, BOE appropriation. It's up to the BOE to designate how the total will be allocated to the individual line.
We know, yeah, we know.
Right, so they don't have to vote on it. You say, we're adding $30,000 to the budget, or whatever it is, and that's it. They'll decide where that money goes. And they can decide that at any point. After.
So this is all assuming that somebody comes, we're gonna put more money in.
So they don't.
What's the feeling if they come back and they say, you've got to take $200,000 out? Now what do you want to do? I mean, I'm not saying it's gonna happen, just,
Then you reduce it, if you decide to reduce it by 200,000, they have to.
then they have to find it without a vote. I mean, I think, okay.
I think I'll file a placeholder agenda with Antoinette for a special meeting for us on Thursday. We'll do it remote, and if we don't need it, we'll cancel it.
Yeah, I would agree.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, we're gonna, on the next meeting, that's gonna change. It's not gonna be April 23rd. Next, I move to push the budgets to a town hearing to be scheduled, which is a Board of Finance meeting on April 21st at 6:30 PM. I'm moving to move these budgets to a town hearing scheduled for April 21st, 2025 at 6:30. And second by Dan. Any further discussion? All those say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Carry 6-0. Yes, the 23rd is a scheduled meeting. This is a town hearing, which is, actually, it's our meeting, but we had to move for it tonight. And we're all done. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?